Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of our live streamed revision sessions. I'll just give it a couple of minutes before I make a start. Tonight's only going to be a quick one on the most important topics that are on the GCSE. So on the GCSE 9 to 1 spec, 25% of everything, like all the questions that are on there, are ratio questions. So it is important that we feel comfortable with the ratio and we are more than capable of using it in exam situations. Now, there's 9 days until the first exam, and what I'd like to do is get us as comfortable as possible with this ratio to start with tonight. So we'll start tonight. So I'm looking at ratio, but I'm not just going to look at standard ratio. I'm going to look at ratio in 3 ways, as it says here. So there's 3 kinds of ratio questions, and we need to be comfortable with all 3 of them. So first one, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do today actually. So today we're going to look at standard ratio problems. So standard ratio problems are the ones that we're probably used to, and it'll be like our go-to version of doing ratio. Secondly is when you're giving one value. So when you're given one value within the ratio question, that's when we look at the second objective here. And the last one is when given the difference between 2 parts of the ratio. So they're the 3 things that we're going to look at today, and it shouldn't take too long. There are many questions that are available on this, seeing as ratio is such a huge topic within the GCSE math syllabus now. If you would like some extra questions on top of these, please feel free to go on to our VLE. Alternatively, you can Google, you can go onto Corbett Maths, you can go into anything where you're able to get maths questions, and all of them will be as reliable and viable as each other. So first kind of ratio, I'm not actually going to spend much time on this kind of ratio because this is the one where most people will go to automatically. So when people go to it automatically, that's the one that we need to spend a little bit of time on, and then we'll spend more time on it on the other kind of ratios, ones that we actually need to practice on. So this one here, so Malika's father, has won £128. So that's an important part of the question. He shared the 128 between 3 children in the ratio 6 to 3 to 1, and Malika was given the biggest share. So work out how much money Malika received. Now you can see there that I've only actually highlighted a small portion of that exam question. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at answering that exam question now. So when I'm presented with a standard ratio problem, I firstly need to add. So I need to do 6 plus 3 plus 1. I need to add my ratio together. So I need to do 6 plus 3 plus 1, which gives me 10. Now I do this because there are 10 parts of the ratio in total. So with there being 10 parts of the ratio, I need to split that money into 10. So to split it into 10, I next, actually I'll do that in a different colour, need to divide. So I add, then I divide. So I get my amount of money, so the 128, and I divide it by 10, which gives me £12.80. So that there is the key thing in this ratio question. So that is one part. In every ratio question, we want to find one part. When we find one part, we therefore know every other part within that ratio. The last part, I need to find out Malika's share. Now Malika, it says, was given the biggest share, so she has 6. So I need to times £12.80 80 by 6. And the reason I do that is because I don't want the one part which have been given here. I want 6 parts that Malika actually receives. And when I times that, it gives me £76 and 80 pence. Okay, and that's how you solve all standard ratio problems. So standard ratio problems come in the form, just drag this over here. So standard ratio is add, divide, multiply. With the key thing to remember for all ratio is I want to find one part. As soon as you find one part, you therefore know all the parts. Okay, so that's your standard ratio problems, where you're given a total. So we're given a total like we are here. So we're given the total. We're also given the ratio, and we need to split it from there. So we need to share the money. Okay, so when you're given a total, a ratio, and the instruction to share it, we need to go on to our standard ratio problems and the process that we'd use for that. When we're looking at different kind of ratio here, this is when I'm given one value in the ratio. So in here I'm only actually given the butter. Now in here I've been given butter to sugar because that's how it goes in the sentence. So butter to sugar is 5:3. So I'm just going to summarise this information down here. So butter to sugar is 5:3. I've been given 360 grams of butter and I want the amount of sugar. Okay, so a little bit more information needed on this one. So here I've been giving butter to sugar in the ratio 5:3. I've been given 360 grams of butter, and what I want is the sugar. So again, as with all ratio questions, the key thing I need to do, I need to find one. So if I know one part, I know all of them. Now what I have been given is 5 parts, is 360. So to find one part, I do 360 divided by 5, and by dividing it by 5 that gives me the one part, so that gives me 72. So I've got my 360 divided by 5. Now what I don't want is one part, I want to present 3 parts. So I get my 72 and I times it by 3 and I get 200, and so let's make that a bit more legible, 216. And that's how much sugar I need to go with the 360 grams of butter. Okay, so when given one value, again, find one. Always find one. If you can find one part of the ratio, you know all the parts of the ratio after that. Now I'm going to put this question up on the board for you, and I'll give you a minute and let you have a go of it yourself, and then we'll come back and talk our way through it. Right, so we'll have a look at this question now. So this question, so it's for the same homework question. Pedro independently does the question in 84 minutes. And the ratio of Pedro's time to Eva's time for the same homework is 7 to 6. So that means for every 7 minutes that Pedro spends on the homework, Eva spends 6 minutes. So I've got my ratio, I've got the time that Pedro spends on it, and the ratio of Pedro to Eva. So it's important the order that it comes in the sentence. The question is, how long did it take Eva to do it? So for this one, I'm just going to summarise my information that I have. So I have Pedro, I have Eva. Pedro to Eva is in the ratio 7 to 6, and it took Pedro 84 minutes. So again, what I want to find, as with all ratio, is to find one part. If I find one part, I can therefore find 6 parts. So if 84 minutes is 7 parts, which is here, I do 84 divided by 7, and that gives me 12. So one part of this ratio is 12 minutes. I then want to find 6 parts, so I times it by 6, and when I times 12 by 6, that gives me Eva's amount. So it was what I was originally looking for there. So 12 times 6 is 72, and that goes into my answer box there. I'll write it in. 72. Okay, so we find one part every single time that we're working with this. Now the last kind